Hello, my friends. Today we are going to talk about one of Mrs. Shallert's favorite things, history of space exploration. Space is such a cool thing. I remember when I was a little girl and I went to the Kennedy Space Center, how I just fell in love with Earth space science, and it was just a wonderful experience to have. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of space exploration today. I like this background because it kind of reminds me of the stars. All right, so the first U.S. satellite, April 12, 1961, Russian Lieutenant Yuri Gagarin became the first human to orbit Earth. Then after where we live in the United States, Explorer 1 went into orbit on January 31st, 1958. And in 1961, Alan Shepard, right over here, he became the first American to fly into space. In 1962, another guy over here in the orange, John Glenn, was the first American to orbit Earth. Can you imagine orbiting Earth? I think that would be such a cool feeling to fly into space and see the world that we live in. So, off to the moon. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy had a goal to land a man on the moon and return him home safely within a decade. And he did it. Just like how we meet our goals in class of different things, how we want to go to reading level and math and how we want to be a friend. As the United States, we met our goal to be on space or to be on the moon. And this man right here with the American flag, his name is Neil Armstrong, and he stepped on the moon and made this famous saying called "One giant leap for mankind." After Neil Armstrong, there was 6 Apollo missions between 1969 to 1972 to discover more about the moon. This was a little while ago, but not too long ago. All right, we're going to watch this cool video for a second about the moon.
Get ready for things you want to know. Have you ever been on a road trip? How about a 3-day road trip? That's about how long it takes to get to the moon. 3 American astronauts began their road trip to the moon on July 16, 1969. Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Edwin "Buzz" Aldrin blasted off in the Apollo 11 spacecraft from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on a mission that would change the world forever. Back on Earth, 600 million people all over the globe watched this incredible expedition. Before touching down, the trio split up. Collins stayed on board Apollo 11's command module, the Columbia, where he would remain in orbit around the moon. Armstrong and Aldrin boarded the lunar module, the Eagle, an aircraft designed for 2 astronauts to land on the moon's surface. Wearing bulky spacesuits and backpacks of oxygen to breathe,
Just like here.
Neil Armstrong stepped out, becoming the first person to walk on the moon. Shortly after, Buzz Aldrin joined his partner, launching themselves into the history books. Armstrong and Aldrin spent about 2 hours exploring and collecting samples of the moon to bring back to Earth. But before getting back on board, they left behind a few mementos: their backpacks, an American flag, a small gold pin shaped like an olive branch, and a patch from the never-launched Apollo 1 mission. All was going well until one of the astronauts accidentally knocked loose the circuit breaker that fires up the engine to get them back to the orbiting command module. Collins was their only ride home. But it was Buzz Aldrin who saved the day with a pen, pushing the breaker back in place. The spacemen re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, splashing down in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, marking the first successful human-operated spacecraft to the moon and back. Mission accomplished, and the world celebrated their safe return. Humans set foot on the moon. What planet is next?
You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Can you imagine stepping on a planet that would, or well, not a planet, but a moon? How exciting that must be and how they must have felt. Of course, they left those fun things behind. And I wonder where we're going to explore next. So awesome. All right. For kindergarten, we are going to do a STEM project where we would make our own moon, and we would use model magic and reenact Neil Armstrong putting our flag on the moon. We could incorporate social studies by learning about the U.S. flag, because that's part of our U.S. symbols unit, and we'll read a cool book about the moon. And then we can do art by using the model magic, and engineering by making our own moon and figuring out how to design it. Misconceptions that students may have is they may not understand the moon, that the moon can be seen during the day and the night. And when students think of the moon, they typically think of the moon at night. So seeing that it can be seen during the day may be a challenging concept, and students may not know how to make a moon of their own. They might get confused with the shadows of the moon and make a crescent moon. And so those are some misconceptions. All right, space discoveries. By the end of the 1970s, the Voyager was able to send images of Jupiter and Saturn and their rings and the moon. This was great because it helped us have a clearer picture of Jupiter and Saturn. This was the Americans' first space station, the Skylab. It was a human space vessel in the 1970s, and this helped astronauts conduct international space missions with the Americans and the Russians. And they conducted a project called the Apollo-Soyuz Test Project. That's nice when we work together. Other countries work together. Great things happen, just like when we do in the classroom. All right, this is what you probably know of when you think of a space shuttle. A space shuttle, they started in 1981. The Columbia started the use of reusable space shuttles. That means that we get to use it over and over again. The Columbia was the first shuttle to reach space, and there was many other space shuttles from the Columbia, the Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour. And this was the beginning of a new chapter for space exploration. There were disasters with space shuttles, bad things that happened. On January 28, 1986, the Challenger exploded 73 seconds after liftoff, and 7 people were killed, including 5 astronauts, 2 payload specialists, and the first civilian, a teacher. This was the 10th flight for the Challenger, and the crash occurred in Cape Canaveral. The O-ring failed because of the cold conditions, and the crew and parts of the rocket were found in the ocean. And then NASA did not launch another space shuttle for 32 months. There was another space disaster. The Columbia disintegrated when it was re-entering Earth, and it killed these 7 people. A part of the space shuttle's spray applied polyurethane foam insulation, and it broke off, and this suspended space travel for another 2 years. So no more sad stuff. These space shuttles were retired. The Discovery was the first of the 3 to retire. Its last mission was on March 9th, 2011. The Endeavour retired next on June 1st, 2011. And then the Atlantis final mission took place on July 21st, 2011. This ended the 30 years of the Space Shuttle program. After the Space Shuttle, we went into the International Space Station, where we collaborate with a bunch of countries, and we work together to, explore the world around us. The future of space is we're going to focus on Mars. NASA wants to send humans to Mars by the year 2030. And we met our last goal by the moon, so I think we can do it. And Mars rover is studying the availability of oxygen and other Martian resources as we speak right now. So I hope you learned a lot about the history of space and that you're ready to start your cool space unit.